Right, this morning we are going to be in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verses 1 through 5. Therefore, I exhort the elders among you as your fellow, oh my word, I'm doing this bad. I exhort the elders among you as your fellow elder and witness of the sufferings of Christ, and a partaker also of the glory that is to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God among you, overseeing not under compulsion, but willingly, according to God, and not for dishonest gain, but with eagerness, nor yet as lording it over those allotted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. You younger men, likewise, be subject to your elders, and all of you, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another, for God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble.
I want you to hold in your mind that last statement. God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. Everything we talk about this morning is underneath that umbrella. God opposes, stands against. His face is not for. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. We're going to talk about church today. Going to church, being a part of a church. And I know that sounds kind of boring. Like you're like, I don't care. I need some real stuff, Pastor. Don't give me this church nonsense. Listen, this is some real stuff, because here's the thing. Let me say a statement a lot of us have said in our lives. Some have said it when we were teenagers. Some have said it this last week. Here's a line a lot of us say at some point in our lives. Who has ever said that? Don't raise your hand. Don't reveal your card. Just in your own heart know who you really are. Who's ever thought or said the phrase, I don't need nobody. I don't need no one's help. I don't care if I can do it all by myself. A lot of us have said those words in anger, in pride. I don't need nobody. Listen, it's a lie from the pit. We all need people. I mean, when God made humanity, He said of the creation He built, He said, it is not good for people to be alone. And everything we see in life bears this truth out. Do you know? If you take a little baby and give that baby food and warmth and shelter, but do not give that child love, it oftentimes will not grow. They call it FTT, failure to thrive. A child given all the physical necessities, but not given human affection, that child will not develop correctly. We need community, we need affection, we need love. Do you know? That's birth. Go all the way to being older. Some of you here have seen the realities of Alzheimer's or dementia. Do you know that? There's a spot right down by Miss Batiste. Miss Batiste, right there, yep. Do you know that for senior citizens who live alone and talk to nobody, dementia, Alzheimer's will speed up? Not having someone to relate to or talk to. We get trapped in our own minds, and it's not good for us. We need people, and Jesus knows that. When Jesus sent His followers out into the world, He sent them 2 by 2. I thought as a kid my whole life, I saw that movie, The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. Okay, old school, 3.5-hour epic film. And in that movie, Heston is Moses, and he's a stud. He's by himself, and he's fighting Yul Brynner as Pharaoh. Great movie. But I always thought it was Moses by himself, all muscled out versus muscled out Pharaoh. Read the Bible, that's not how it plays. Moses has a crew. Aaron is kind of the dude. At first, Moses is like, Aaron, man, tell him what God said. It's like Moses at first is afraid to talk. It's him, it's his brother, it's his sister. If you read the Bible, I always thought for a long time it was Paul by himself planting churches. Superman, you know? It wasn't that way. Paul always had a crew. 3, 4, 5, 8 people together, men and women, serving the Lord together, because we cannot do life alone. But still, we all try to do it. We try to live alone, function alone, and what happens is we all fall off the edge. We have no one to talk to, no one who... You know what's crazy? So therapy is a thing, right? And it's not a bad thing. Therapy. I went to therapy when I was in college for anger management. Listen. It was good. I needed to go. To this day, I'm grateful for it. I got mugged on the way I was walking from the train station in Chicago to my dorm, my college, and 2 guys tried to jump me for my stuff. And I was having a real bad time in life, and I was going through some really bad interpersonal stuff. I remember walking, I got my duffel bag over my shoulders, and I'm full of just sadness and anger and hurt. And these guys come to jump me to take my stuff, and I was like, oh yeah. I was just like, man, do I need this? And they didn't take my stuff. They got something else. They didn't get my stuff. No charges because I was attacked. I was assaulted by 2 dudes, 2 versus 1. But my college was wise to see. I got called in the office. They're like, Mr. Alaniz, we want you to go to anger management. I'm like, there was no charges filed. They tried to rob me. And the dean was like, Mr. Alaniz, anyone can see you were very happy about what happened and you enjoyed hurting those men. So I had to go to therapy. So therapy's not bad, but for a lot of us, listen, this is the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is this. For a lot of people, therapy is literally going into someone that has some education and just talking about our hurts. For a lot of us, we have no one to talk to. We got to pay someone to listen. A lot of us feel so alone, we have no one to share the real things with. And so God says, when Jesus Christ comes and dies for the sins of everybody, Jesus never says, me and you, no one else. Jesus always says, when Jesus gives commands, it's never a singular you, it's always the plural y'all. This letter of Peter is written to churches. He didn't send it one letter, to seek in. He didn't send one letter to the Junes and one letter to Miss Kit Kat and one letter to Steve. That's what our house is, okay? He sent letters to a church, and here's to one in Corinth, and here's to one in Galatia. And the churches would open the scroll up and read it in the gathering. Because in the Bible, there was never, ever a churchless Christianity. We were meant to be together because we need one another. Listen, in the good and the bad, we need each other. This last week, I was kind of a wreck this last week, emotionally. I needed to do some physical work, I needed to give my mind to something repetitive that didn't cost my soul something. So there was a pile of logs in the back of the property. And I'm like, I'm going to cut all these logs into pieces and stack them before Friday. And so every day I'm out there just sweating, chainsawing. That's good therapy. I needed it. But I realized very quickly, I cannot do this alone. And whenever a brother would show up to help, we would work so much faster together than I did alone. We need each other. This thing called the church, Jesus says, we need community. A lot of Christians say, just me and Jesus, no one else. If it's you and Jesus and no one else, you're not going to make it, man. We need each other. I need older believers to help me walk, and I need to give my life to younger believers to help them walk. We're meant to do this life together. One of the metaphors for the church is the family of God. We take care of, we love one another, we care for each other. This is what we're supposed to be, the family of God. We give a rip about each other. When one of us doesn't show up for a little while, someone calls and says, "Are you okay?" So Peter talks to the church saying, guys, the church he writes to, these churches all over Asia, they're on the run, they're getting beat up, no one likes them. And then in chapter 5, Peter out of nowhere starts talking to these guys called the elders. He says, "Therefore, I exhort, I encourage the elders among you as your fellow elder." That word elder it just means pastor. There's 3 words in the Bible for pastor, okay? There's elder, there's shepherd, which means pastor, and then there's overseer. Overseer, shepherd, elder. These 3 words are used interchangeably. The first thing I want to say is this. The first thing I want to say is simply this. Churches are led by elders. Now, I'm not going to spend much time here at all, but our church, when I say churches are led by elders, not by one, but by plural many. I am a pastor here. I'm not the only pastor. Paster Ernesto, Pastor John, Pastor James ain't here. He was in the morning service. And us 3 together, we were called to shepherd. It says here in verse 2, shepherd the flock of God among you, overseeing. So the elders are called, the pastors are called to take care of the people and oversee the church. There are 2 jobs. We care for souls, like a shepherd does, right? A shepherd with sheep, a shepherd like sheep don't get eaten by wolves. We take care of the sheep, and we oversee the church. Now listen, a lot of churches have one pastor, and that pastor is King Big Dog. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a plurality of leadership, more than one leader. You know why it's so important? I went to India for 3 weeks in February, which was really crazy. But while I was gone, I knew that the other elders here at Flint City were watching out for everybody. I knew John and James were taking care of the flock. And I could go and serve in India knowing God had it. During COVID, when my vocal cords stopped working, I knew if something bad happens to me, the work will still go forward. It's not on one, it's on a few people to do it. So I'm grateful to serve with Pastor John and Pastor James. Grateful. Now, I said earlier, the umbrella of everything today is about humility. So let's go into humility. Here we go. He's going to tell you what pastors should look like. If you go to a church anywhere in America, what kind of pastor, what kind of church leadership should you look for? Listen, a lot of us look for the best communicator, the best dressed, the funniest. That's not the most important thing. What matters more than that, looking for your church leadership, you want to find a godly leader. You want to find a humble leader. Listen, in our world, if someone gets power, what do they do with it? In this world, if you get power, people serve you, right? If you're the big dog, if you're the king, bring me my drink. Go wash my car. Someone do my dry cleaning for me. In this world, the more you have, the more people serve you. If you're a CEO of a big company, you've got assistants and there are some rich people in the world that don't grocery shop. Can you imagine? Be cool. Like people do all their stuff for them. But here's the deal. In the world, it's like the more power you have, the more people serve you. But in the world of Jesus, he turns it upside down and he says, Christ, who's the king, said, I have come not to be served, but to serve. Jesus says things like, the greatest shall be the least among you. Listen, It says here, listen what it says about shepherds and how humble they should be. It says, shepherd the flock of God among you, overseeing not under compulsion, but willingly, according to God, and not for dishonest gain, but with eagerness. Listen, it says, if you're going to be a shepherd, you don't do it for the money. You don't do it to steal from people. And listen, some pastors do that, don't they? Some pastors, the money, listen, for all of us, listen, money tempts everybody, doesn't it? Sometimes money can. How many of you here have had someone you love pass away and the family fights over what they left behind? Sometimes we will be brutal for stuff. And it happens to pastors too. But it says here, a pastor should not be motivated by money. If in India, if you go to the big temple and go up to the holy place up high, you'll find all the priests and you'll find the idol, and there'll be on the wall a menu. And it'll say, if you want a blessing for your new job, it costs this many rupees. If you want prayer for a spouse, this many rupees. Because in that world, if you want anything from God, you got to pay the priest. Listen. Even though there's 3 pastors here, you probably see me the most. You know why? I'm the only full-time pastor. I don't have to work another job. I got to do this full-time. Pastor John is bivocational. He, every Saturday night, works 3rd shift and comes here after he works. He works 2 jobs. And what's crazy is when I go to India or I go somewhere to minister, so he's bivocational. Pastor James has a full-time job somewhere else, and we pay him $0. Pastor James, yay to be him. He works and does things for the church, and we don't pay him at all. Sometimes I buy him lunch. That's about it. That's all he gets. He doesn't do it for the money. He does it because he loves God's people and he feels called to serve. That's what it's supposed to be. When we do weddings here at Flint City, people ask all the time, Pastor, how much you charge for a wedding? And we always say, if you have nothing, we'll still marry you. Because this is for the king, not for our wallets. Pastors should not do stuff for the money. It also says, listen, it says, verse 3, don't lord it over those allotted to you, but be examples of the flock. It says, even if you are a leader, it says, do not lord it over them. It says, do not be a king or a tyrant. Yes. Pastors are not meant to be barking orders. You do this and you do that. We are not kings, we are servants. Which is why, when we have work days, I hope you see. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I try. Like when our Flint City Church, we used to be, before we had this building, we had a trailer. Some of you guys remember these days, right? We had a big old trailer. We had to push these boxes into buildings every single Sunday. We had to get there early, roll all those carts out, unload them, and here's the deal. I was a minister. Part of me would have loved to sleep in and show up to preach and go home. But here's the deal. It says you got to be an example. So I was here early, out in the cold. Sometimes we'd be out there with a little, we'd have a little lighter trying to unfreeze the comm locks. Open in the middle of winter, it would freeze. It would do nightmares, dude, nightmares. And here's the thing. Even though I was a minister, I was still pushing those boxes. I was still setting stuff up because we're told we're not kings barking orders. We're servants who show how to live by the example of our lives. If you see me at Meijer or at Aldi or at the Rave Cinema, that's where I go, those 3 places. If you see me at those places, how I am there should match the way I am here. Correct. And the example of our lives shows you they're not talking trash. It's real for them. So shepherds need to lead humbly. If you go to a church, and that means, what does it mean to lead humbly? It means, as leadership, we will apologize. Because we mess up. We are not perfect. Sometimes, I do not like saying I'm sorry. I don't enjoy it. But it says, God opposes the proud, gives grace to the humble. Being humble means willing to admit, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And I'm sorry. Church leadership. I think one of the reasons people don't like church is because church leadership has hurt so many people over the years. And often leaders have a hard time admitting they messed up. Leaders often try to justify, sometimes leaders will power play and double down. God calls leaders to be humble. When you look for a church to belong to, look for leaders who look like Jesus, who are humble. But it says this too. This text yells at pastors a lot. It yells at me, it yells at John, it yells at James. But it also says in verse 5, you who are younger, likewise, be subject to your elders. Listen, church members should follow humbly. During the pandemic, I knew a lot of pastors who quit their jobs because, let's say a pastor told the church, we're not going to wear masks. Some people were like, you're not wearing a mask? You don't love old people. You hate old people. Then, listen, let's say some pastors said, we're going to wear a mask. And the people said to them, oh, you coward, you're bowing to the man. So pastors couldn't win. If they masked or didn't mask, someone was writing a nasty email blowing their head off. Now, I thank the Lord. As a church, during COVID, we met in 3 places. We started out of Carriagetown. Then we were online, then we did houses for a while, then we did outside, which was cool, but crazy. Outside, we had a gunfire breakout in the corner, I had to hide all the kids. One time, a storm came in, the sky turned green, and we had to tell everyone to go home and run. Listen, in the middle of service, Ricky was leading a song, and I'm like, cut the song. And I went up there, I'm like, everybody, I could see the green sky, I'm like, go home, fast. Listen, it was wild through all of those changes. They went to the basement of West Court Church. We went to the basement for 2 years. It was awful hot in the summer. It was getting cold in the wintertime. We met down there, and it was tough. But here's the deal. So, being your shepherd has been it's been such a good, it's been a joy is what it's been. Because there's a lot of humility in our family. None of you guys blew my head off saying mask or basement. And it was very inconvenient for a long time, but we all knew we were willing to be inconvenienced for the mission. We're willing to be inconvenienced for the gospel of Jesus. And I'm so grateful for our church. We have a special thing here. People can come into this place from all kinds of backgrounds, tatted up, struggling with addiction, coming out of jail, and come here and not be ostracized, not be outcast. That's a beautiful thing. That people can come here, not pretend they're something they're not. Come here as they are and be welcomed and embraced. That matters. We must protect that. We protect that welcoming, loving spirit by being humble. We all must, when it comes, listen, leaders can hurt you, but so can each other. Christians can fight. Christians can get mad at each other and hold bitterness for a long time. We are as petty as anyone outside these walls. Fair? We can blow things out of proportion. We can hold on to our hurt, like we'll give it a name. My little puppy. Like we can take our hurt and hold it for years. And it grows from a puppy into a big old dog. Ugh. I'm just saying that bitterness grows, man. Bitterness grows. But we can get angry and hold it forever, or we can choose the path of humility and say, I'm going to take the hit for the sake of peace. I'm going to be wronged for the sake of peace among the brothers and sisters. I got an email a while back. A lady emailed me saying, I'm having a hard time with my son. 3 days pass, 4 days pass. She writes back, and she's like, well, I guess I don't matter to you. I guess, you don't care about me. I guess I'm all by myself. You don't give a rip. And I'm like, part of me wants to pull the guns. Like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. If you want to come at me, I can write an email too, lady. Like, that's in there. That's in there. But then I'm like, this lady, she's hurting. Doesn't know what to do. She's in pain. And in pain, what you know what's true about life? Hurt people hurt people. Straight up. I knew she's hurting, and she's lashing out. So I calmed down. I got myself prayed up. I wrote back, and I'm like, ma'am, I'm so sorry things are so hard. How can I be a help? And right away she wrote back, said, Pastor, I'm so sorry. I'm just so scared. I'm so angry. And immediately God got in the middle of that, and it went the right direction. If I responded with more anger, guess what would have happened? It would have been World War III. World War III. So, humility is this decision to say, I'm going to take the heat for the sake of unity. I am going to apologize. I am going to not fight for my rights. I am going, for the sake of my brothers and sisters, I am going to seek their good, even though it's difficult and inconvenient for me. Now, here's the deal. Humility, it says this. And all of you, everyone, church folk, leaders, everyone in the church, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another. I want Flint City to remain a place that's open and welcome to those who come. It's a weird house we got. So I was doing ice cream yesterday. I was doing ice cream yesterday, and the ice cream driver was from Waterford. He's driving, I'm sitting in passenger seat. I'm driving to the east side, and he's like, man, a lot of skunks are out here. I'm like, those aren't skunks, brother. And me and my daughter, my daughter's 12 years old, and she's dying laughing because she knows what it is. Because she grew up in Flint Town. She knows that skunk is something else. Listen, out here is a weird world. But listen, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying we have a very special thing happening here at Flint City, and I want to protect it. And we protect it by choosing individually to remain humble. And it's hard. It's hard being wronged and letting go. It is hard not to stamp our feet and say, look at my offense and validate my hurt. Yes, it did hurt. They were wrong. But are you willing to forgive for the sake of the gospel? Are you willing to lay it down for the greater good of Christ's message? As leaders, I hope we model humility. As church folk, I want to say, it is a joy to be your pastor. It is a joy. It is a joy. We love you. Me, Pastor John, Pastor James, we love serving. We love serving here. We love standing with you, walking with you. And it's hard sometimes. We go through hard things together. But we're all in. We're all in. God opposes the proud. And just let me say this real quick. If you go to a church and the pastor is a proud, brutal person who hurts a lot of people, that's not fair. Listen, just know this. God's going to smoke that fool. Just beware of that. God's going to deal with that person. If someone uses their power for evil, God's going to deal with them. There are pastors who do evil things. I have been hurt by pastors who got drunk on their own power. And I'm like, I don't need to fight you. I'm going to walk away and do my thing and smile because eventually God is going to smoke you. And I'm content with letting God be their judge. So, with that said, let us pray together. Father in heaven, you oppose the proud and give grace to the humble. Lord, not everyone in this room is from Flint Town. Not everyone in this room goes to this church. But I hope everyone in this room realizes the need to be part of a community. That they commit to be part of a people so they don't have to be alone in this world. They will make friends and make connections. That they walk through this life. They don't walk through it alone with other people who love you and seek your face. And for those of us that are part of this community, help us to walk in humility with one another. As leaders, let me and Pastor John, Pastor James, let us be quick to apologize. Let us be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. And for those that are part of this ministry, help us to be humble with each other in the pews, side by side, forgiving one another, being gracious to one another. We need to be this way for this church to keep the sweet spirit we currently have. Lord, keep the devil out of this place that we may see the good work go forward. In Christ's name we ask all these things. Amen.